In the first reading today, St. Peter tells us that first of all, he is a witness to the suffering of Christ, and then tells us that God will establish us and strengthen us and perfect us after we have suffered for a while. So he's not making this any kind of an option. And we see this very clearly even in the gospel reading when the question is, who am I? Who do people say that I am? And certainly we hear about John the Baptist, who we know was beheaded, hear about Elijah, who suffered a great deal but was ultimately just taken up in the chariot. But then we hear about Jeremiah. And if there is any prophet of all of them that is known for the sufferings that he had to endure, it's Jeremiah. So when you look at the different prophets, you could say, well, Isaiah was the one who was the most exacting. He was so clear on so much of what he said. No, he didn't talk about Allah, he didn't talk about Isaiah. They talked about Jeremiah. While Jeremiah's prophecies are very clear, it's his suffering that was so much the part of who he was and what his ministry was all about. And that becomes important for us because as we look at it and say, okay, who do you say that I am? And with Peter, of course, we can say you're the Christ, the Son of the living God. But then we know for him to be the Christ, that means he has to suffer. He made that clear to his apostles on 3 different occasions. And even after his resurrection, when they didn't believe, the question was, wasn't it necessary that the Messiah had to suffer all of these things before he could enter into his glory? And if that's the case of our Lord, and you and I are baptized into him, then we have to participate in that. That is not an option. And so that's the great gift that is given, because when our Lord speaks about his glory on earth, not the glory in heaven, the glory on earth, he's talking about the cross. When he talks about his hour, he's not talking about the hour when he rises from the dead or the hour when he is ascended into heaven. He is talking about the hour when he is crucified. So the time of his passion and of his death. And so we all know that we're not immune from this as often as we try to avoid it, and however many ways we try to avoid it. And we can try to convince ourselves of all kinds of silliness, that not only suggesting God doesn't want us to suffer and all this kind of stuff, but then even coming up with stupid ideas like, well, in the midst of my suffering, I'm really not suffering because God doesn't want me to. Like, let's not be stupid. If you're suffering, you're suffering. And God has an infinite imagination, and the more ways you try to avoid it, the more ways he finds to provide it. We should have figured this out by now, but we still haven't because we keep trying to avoid it at all costs. I'm not saying put yourself in the way of suffering, look for it. It's going to find you. You don't have to go looking. The Lord knows exactly where you are, and he's going to provide exactly what you need. It's not going to be fun. But it wasn't for him either. So what we then have to look at is the question of how. Because his suffering brings about our salvation because it was done in perfect charity. And the only way your suffering and mine has any value at all is if it is done in charity. It has value because you're a human being. What's the difference between your suffering and that of an animal? An animal's suffering has no value. And if you don't give it to God and you don't accept it in love, it has no value either. But if you can accept it and you can offer it and you can unite it with our Lord, then it has great value. It continues the work of redemption. But also, as St. Peter pointed out, it purifies, it strengthens, it perfects us. And that's exactly what every one of us needs. And I think if I were to ask the question, would you rather suffer here and have it be meritorious and cut your purgatory down substantially and perhaps bring a bunch of people with you to heaven? Or would you rather wait until you get to purgatory, where then you're going to have to suffer for who knows how long, and it is of no value at all? It doesn't bring anybody else closer to heaven. All it's doing is purifying you, but it's not meritorious there either. Now, given those two options, which would you choose? And I suspect and I hope every one of us would choose, I'd rather do it now. I want to get to heaven as soon as I can. And for some of us, I realize the fact that purgatory is going to end one day is a great blessing, because that means we can't be there any longer than that. But hopefully we don't have to be there that long. The more that we're purified here, the less time we're going to have to spend there, which means the quicker we get into heaven. So if we look at it, well, for some of us, maybe the suffering and the purification will at least get us to purgatory. If it can get us out of hell, that'll be a great thing. And if it can shorten our purgatory time, help us to grow in holiness and bring others with us, what a gift. As I keep asking you, if you forget just for a moment what it is that we're talking about, and God were to say to you, look, I'm going to give you the greatest gift that I can possibly give to you. That is to participate in the single greatest event, the greatest work in human history. If you didn't know what he was talking about, you'd be just like James and John when Jesus said, can you drink from the chalice that I can drink? Oh yeah, I can do that. Yeah, if we didn't know what he was talking about, we'd say, sign me up. I get a chance to be part of the single greatest thing that has ever happened in human history? Absolutely, I want to be part of that. He says, good. Take the cross on your shoulders and get crucified. And then we say, no, I didn't sign up for that. It's like, yeah, you did. What do you think you signed up for? Well, I wanted to be part of the glory. I wanted to be part of the greatness. I wanted it for me. Right, the greatness and the glory are when we're humiliated and humbled to the point that we can just offer it to God for the sake of others. And then we don't care about what happens to me, because it's not about me. It's about God and it's about neighbor. And that's what he's giving us the opportunity to do, which is exactly what he did. So if we're going to have a part in the greatest work that has ever taken place in human history, then it has to be done the same way that he did it. Out of pure charity for God and for neighbor. And granted, today our charity is not pure, which is why we have to suffer for a little while to be purified, perfected, and established, and all that stuff that St. Peter was talking about. So all that to say that when all this happens, don't get angry, don't reject it, don't get frustrated. Well, do your best not to. It's human. Yeah, we're not there yet. But do your best to try to accept it, to see what God is doing. He's making you a saint, and he's giving you the opportunity to bring a whole bunch of people with you into heaven. People that you have no idea who it is. I mean, granted, you can offer your sufferings for specific individuals, but we can just give it to the Lord. He will give it to whomever he needs. And when you get to heaven, then you'll find out what all of that was worth. And we look at even today, the saint that we celebrate, Antiochus. We wear red as a martyr, but he wasn't martyred. So why does the church call him a martyr, and why does it say wear red? Because he suffered so much that they considered him a martyr, even though he wasn't martyred. So, perfect readings for that, huh? Again, you might look at it and go, well, if somebody's the Pope, he's supposed to be doing that. I mean, what else would you expect? He's the head of the church. Of course he has to do that. It's not just the Pope. God has called each one of us. He's called each one of us individually to whatever it is that he's asking. And the suffering that we're going to have to endure is going to be completely connected with that. Plus, of course, as St. Teresa tells us, how much sin needs to be purified, as well as the degree of holiness that God is calling us, and how many people are going to be affected by our suffering, by whatever it is God is asking us to do. So, for many of us, we can look at it and say, gee, do I have any sins that need to be purified? Yeah, okay, so we got a good start on how much we have to suffer already. And then what's God going to do with this? How many people are going to be touched by this? That's where we leave that in God's hands. Only He knows the answer to that. Our task is to conform ourselves to Christ, to the disposition of our Lord as He went through His passion. He told us He longed for this day. This is why He came. And yes, we know that in the garden He asked that if it were possible be taken away. But at the same time, when it was not taken away, He embraced it. He didn't get angry. He embraced it. And out of pure charity, He accepted it and offered it for you and me. And now He's simply asking that we would do likewise. Offer it to Him for the sake of others. If you're not just looking out for yourself, that means you're going to be purified that much more quickly. If you're looking at it and saying, what do I get out of this? Yeah, then the purification is going to take a lot longer because you're still doing it for a selfish reason. Just do it for everybody else. And in case you hadn't noticed, there is a really huge problem that we've got right now. People need a conversion. People need suffering, and people need saints. And so the time is upon us. It is a great blessing. So when we ask that question, who is He? The answer is not just about Him. It's about you and me as well. If we answer that question correctly, which is kind of hard for us not to because it's right there in black and white for us, we know who He is. He is the Christ, the Son of the living God. He is as the Christ. We know what that means. You and I are baptized into Him, and so it tells us who we are, and it tells us what we have to be about. Not suffering for the sake of suffering, but rather suffering to make us saints, and suffering to bring about the conversion and the salvation of as many souls as possible.